Hello friend, welcome back. In our previous video from our view, from our view index page here I have passed all that our user details, and also I pass all that our user info details, right? And also I pass it in our dictionary. So into this position I pass our two of this field data, and also I pass our this dictionary in our context area. That means now we can actually use it in our index HTML. That means all that data. So now if you go to our index HTML, and here I want to right now we don't need this, I just simply remove it, and here I want to define one of the condition. So first of all I want to define one of the if condition. That means I want to display all that our user specific ID data, right? So first of all I have to define our this user is authenticated or not. So I just simply define with this user, and they have also one of the function as I told you, that is a user authenticate. So I just simply define as a user authenticate. So if this user is authenticate, then it should be display some of all that our data, and rather than I just simply define another condition as else. Okay, that means else it should be display another things. So I just simply define as else it should be display one of the dev information. So I just simply define another dev, and here I define the class as alert. I want to show some of the message actually. Okay, alert as a primary. I just simply define as alert one of the bootstrap class. It should be display you are not logging. Okay, logged in. So this type of one of the message it should be display. So that is in the dev position, and also we have to finish our this if condition. So after that I just simply define as and if. Okay friend, so here we have to defining it, and rather than when this user will be as authenticated, then I want to display all that our message. That means here I want to define one of the paragraph, and into the paragraph area it should be displayed as a hi, and then it should be displayed with our from here I have passed our user basic. So into the user basic we will get that username and also the email, right? So now I just simply with this user, that means with the user basic info, I want to access our database field as a username, and also I want to take another one. I just simply copy it, and now here it should be displayed as the email. That means your email. So with this basic info we will also get our this field data. So this field data will be as an email. So I just simply define as an email. Okay, and also after that I want to take our Facebook ID and the picture. So I just simply define as a paragraph, and here I define on the href, because here we have to load our HTTP request. That means our Facebook URL. So it should be as a Facebook. Okay, Facebook profile. So that will be as a Facebook profile, and here we have to put our this link, right? So in particular that position we have to put it. So Facebook this profile we actually get that data. We get that data with our this user info, that we user more info. So for now I just simply copy it. So with this user more info, and to access our field name. So I have already defined one of the field name. If you go to our model, into the model I have defined the field name will be as a Facebook ID, right? So now I just simply copy it, and with this user info I want to display our Facebook ID URL. It should be visible, and also I have to display our image. That means here also that is one of the profile image. So if you want to add this profile image, then you have to add some of the function for this one. If you go to that URLs, and into the URLs area you have to define input some of the functions, like here I define as a form, and into the Django they have also the conf, and here from here I want to input, and then the settings. Okay, you have to input it, and also from Django, and they have also one of the contrib, and there the static files. Okay, static files, and they have also the URLs, and from here you have to input that static all the data. That means the static. So that is actually pretty much common things. Every time you have to actually use it. So then also you have to define one of the static files URL pattern. So I just simply define as static files underscore URL pattern. Okay, URL patterns. So here make that sure you add 2 of these, and then also we have to define our this URL patterns. So in particular after this you have to define as a URL patterns. So with this URL patterns here you have to add as a plus and the equal. That means after this automatically it should be added our this position. So I just simply define as a plus equal and then our static files. Okay, that means these static files with these static files, and that is our URL pattern. And with this URL pattern here we have to add it, and then also we have to define another URL patterns, and then a plus and the equal, and then static. So with this static here we have to define our, I have already input our settings, so these settings will be now needed. So into the static position we have to define the settings. So into the settings we have to define our 2 of the things. I have already declared 2 of this in our project. If you go to the setting, into the setting here, here you can see I have already defined as a media root, and also I have defined that media URL. So into the media URL I have already defined our appropriate folder name, that means this media folder. So here now we have to add 2 of this. Okay, so now I want to use this media URL. So in our URLs area after the settings I want to access that media URL and also our documents root, and also here we have to define our documents root, document underscore root. Into the documents root with this setting. Okay, with these settings we have to also define our another word. So into the setting I have defined also the media root, so I have to also add it. So I just simply define our media root. So if you want to access this image you have to add this. Okay, so I just simply define the things on here. So now we can actually use our image. So now if you go to our index, into the index after that means after that Facebook profile, here I want to use it. So I just simply define as image, and into the image src, first of all here we have to define our our images in our this folder area, right? That means there is a media, so here we have to define that media. So I just simply define that media. So right now we don't need this alt tag, so that is actually media, media. And after this media here we have to define our path. So here I have already tagged all the data from here, I have already defining it. So that is our user more info. So with this user more info, okay, with this user more info I want to access our field name as a profile picture. So I just simply copy it, and now here I just simply define our profile picture. Okay, that means a dot and then our profile picture. Perfect. So that's all you have to do. So now let's check this out. It should be work. Like I just click the save all, check it fast. So it's now getting some of the error in our URLs attribute media URL. You can see if you go to our URL, so into the URL, that is a media URL. You can see I actually copy it, but maybe it's missing. That is actually the media URL. Okay, so I have to define as a media URL. Now let's check this out again. Click as a save all, check this again. Better I want to run space some of the things on here, then it should be actually run this server again. Yeah, now you can see it's not perfect. So now let's check this out. If you now go here, right now I am already logged in, so I just click the log out from here, and that is our register, and that is our logging. So now I want to log in with the Kazi, and then I define the password 12345, click as a logging. Yes, now you can see friend, now it's showing our appropriate these user details, that the username is visible, and also this user email address is visible. That is our profile, that means the Facebook profile link. Here you can see that is by default getting our this link as a fb.com and the test, and that is actually the image. So better I want to define some of the white for this image. So that is our image I have defined in our index. So into the index area here after this, so here after this I want to define another wide. Okay, I just simply define another wide as a 200 pixel. Now click as a save all, and now refresh it again. Yeah, it's not perfect. So friend, I hope you can well understand about it. And also I have created another user as a Aryan. So now if you click as a logout, so you can see now it's actually showing as a you are not logged in. So that is actually the condition I have defined, right? Into the index I have defined that condition. If this user is not authenticated, then else it should be displayed this one. That means that you are not logging, right? So now you can see it's now showing with this primary one of the alert I have used with this is now showing as you are not logged in. So now there is a register option and there is a logging option. So right now I'm to logging with our this user as a Aryan, like I name it as a Aryan, and then maybe I define the password as 12345. Click as a logging. Yeah, you can see it's now showing as a hi Aryan, and that is actually the email address visible, the profile, that means the Facebook profile is visible, and also it's now display that image. So now if you click as a logout, successfully logout. If you want to click as a register, so right now I want to define another register user as a Udemy, and then password 12345, and then define as a Udemy @gmail.com. So this type of one of the email address I want to use, and then I define as a Facebook/Udemy. So this type of one of the Facebook ID, and I choose some of the image. So right now for education purpose I'm actually using this type of one of the image. So right now I just select this one, click as a open, click as a register. Yes, you can see it's now showing as a congratulations, registration successfully done. So now we are successfully registered. So now I want to log in our Udemy as a username and the password 12345. Click as a login. Yes, you can see hi Udemy is visible, and then also showing our email address, and you can see there is a profile is showing as a Facebook, that means afb.com/Udemy, and also it's now perfectly showing our specific this user profile picture. So for education purpose I'm using this type of one of the profile picture. I think you can well understand about it. That means friend, we successfully complete our total authentication system, right? So right now you can log in, you can select as a logout, you can register some of the user from to this position. Everything is now perfectly working. So that is one of the most important part in Django, that is authentication. So step by step from to the scratch we have created it, right? I think you enjoy it very much. So friend, we successfully complete our Django default authentication system. See you in next video. I will start at another session. It's about that class based view. So friend, as I told you, don't worry, step by step we will go more deep, and after end of this course everything will be very much clear to you. You will have very well knowledge about the Django. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.